Before we begin, I wanted to share that we have both Spanish interpretation and sign language interpretation available for today's session. Is there anyone here who would like to have the workshop presented in Spanish? We can move you into a breakout room with our interpreters. Please raise your hand or type in the chat to let us know. Can I go ahead and have the Spanish interpreters? We'll start that interpretation one more time, just to make sure we don't miss anyone. Before we begin, I wanted to share that we have both Spanish interpretation and sign language interpretation available for today's session.
Antes de empezar la reunión de hoy, les quiero hacer saber que el día de hoy tenemos disponible interpretación en español y también las señas, por si alguien lo requiere.
Is there anyone who would like to have the workshop presented in Spanish?
¿Hay alguien que quiera que esta presentación les sea presentada en el idioma español?
We can move you into a breakout room with our interpreters.
Lo podemos mover a una sala de break con nuestros intérpretes.
Please raise your hand or type in the chat to let us know.
Por favor, levante la mano o escriba en el chat para hacérnoslo saber.
All right. If anyone wants Spanish interpretation, please let us know in the chat as we begin the program here.
Por favor, si alguien en algún momento necesita interpretación en español, háganoslo saber a través del chat.
All right, so I'm going to begin the presentation in English. We'll keep moving forward. Welcome to the Nexus Grant Application Information Session. My name is Anne-Marie McCaskill-Davis, and along with my colleague Maya Williams-Britton, we are leading the Nexus Grant Program. The Nexus Grant is a program of the Economic Development Department's Cultural Arts Division. The Economic Development Department oversees initiatives to assist the development of creative industries in Austin and support the community's unique cultural identity and vitality. This information session will provide details about the Nexus Grant. The grant is funded through the hotel occupancy tax. All grants funded with the hotel occupancy tax revenue are required to culminate in public activities that are open and advertised to Austin residents, visitors, and tourists, promote and enhance the city of Austin as a cultural destination, and occur in Austin or its extraterritorial jurisdiction. Next slide. During this webinar, we will review the Nexus Grant Program highlights, applicant eligibility, funding priorities, eligible activities and expenses, scoring rubric, a summary timeline of the application cycle, and information on how to apply and receive additional application assistance. Next slide. The Nexus program is designed to nurture new and emerging applicants in Austin's creative community. Funds support creative public activities for the city and its tourists through community-centered arts activities. This program funds community-centered art projects of all kinds. Nexus will prioritize applicants who are new to city funding, particularly those who have been at immediate risk of cultural erasure and displacement within Austin and/or have been institutionally marginalized. Next slide. To be eligible to apply for this funding opportunity, applicants must be a 501c nonprofit arts organization, an individual artist over the age of 18, or a creative business with annual expenses of $150,000 or less. Be headquartered in the Austin Metropolitan Statistical Area, or MSA. Have a minimum 1 year of creative production in Austin.
I'm
Propose.
sorry. I'm sorry. Do you mind spotlighting me again? I'm so
Sure.
sorry. I lost my Wi-Fi.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes.
So it dropped me. I'm so sorry.
Not at all. I'll go back to the top of this slide. Is that good?
Yes, thank you.
To be eligible to apply for this funding opportunity, applicants must be a 501c nonprofit arts organization, an individual artist over the age of 18, or a creative business with annual expenses of $150,000 or less. Be headquartered in Austin Metropolitan Statistical Area, or MSA. Have a minimum 1 year of creative production in Austin. Proposed activities compliant with the Hotel Occupancy Tax, or HOT statute. HOT funded activities are required to be open and advertised to Austin residents and tourists, promote and enhance Austin as a cultural destination, and occur in Austin or its extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ. Individual artists and creative businesses may apply directly or with a fiscal sponsor. Applicants cannot accept more than one grant from the Cultural Arts Division, the Cultural Arts Fund, Thrive, Elevate, Nexus, or Austin Live Music Fund within the same City of Austin fiscal year. See the online application form for current fiscal year and be a full-time city employee. Next slide. If applying with a fiscal sponsor, you must secure your fiscal sponsor before starting an application. You will not be able to change your application to include a fiscal sponsor after it is submitted. The fiscal sponsor will create the application on behalf of the sponsored project. Once the fiscal sponsor creates the application, they can invite the sponsored project as a collaborator to edit narrative responses. The fiscal sponsor and sponsored project must complete and sign the sponsorship agreement. This should be uploaded as a required document. Fiscal sponsorship fees cannot exceed 10% of the award amount. The fiscal sponsor must hit the submit button on behalf of the sponsored project to submit the application. Please see the Long Center or Create Austin's guide for using fiscal sponsors for more information about applying with a fiscal sponsor. Next slide. The Nexus grant prioritizes applicants who have never received City of Austin Cultural Funding Awards in the last 5 years. Applicants that serve key constituencies that are at immediate risk of cultural erasure and displacement and other forms of institutional marginalization. This includes those who represent the diverse cultures of Austin, particularly those who are from backgrounds that have been historically underrepresented in Austin's cultural funding programs. Projects that invest in local artists and community-centered arts projects of all kinds. To better understand the second funding priority, it's important to understand the definition of key constituencies. Key constituencies are the people deeply impacted by your work, which may include your audience, community members, and/or participating artists and administrators. These key constituencies are identified and named by the applicant. For the purposes of this program, key constituencies that will be prioritized are community groups that are at immediate risk of cultural erasure and displacement within Austin and/or have been institutionally marginalized and underfunded by the City of Austin's Cultural Arts Division. Any reference to key constituencies in a program application and scoring rubric will be referring to the community groups that meet this definition and that has been directly identified by the applicant. This may refer to Black, African American, Native American, Asian, Hispanic Latino, Middle Eastern, and Pacific Islander, the LGBTQIA, and disability communities. Note, audience served is not the same as key constituencies, as the audience served may or may not include communities that are at immediate risk of cultural erasure and displacement within Austin, and/or have been institutionally marginalized. If you discover additional terms that you are not familiar with, please reference the additional program details document, which has a glossary of terms, or reach out to cultural funding staff. Next slide. The Nexus grant can be used to fund a variety of public events. Eligible activities include exhibitions. For example, visual art showcases, film screenings and festivals, or panel discussions relating to arts and culture. Performances. For example, theatrical productions, dance performances, spoken word events, and live music performances. Arts and culture related workshops, classes, and camps that culminate in a public performance or exhibition. Public art projects installed on public or private property, accessible to all. Ticketed events are welcome as long as tickets can be purchased by the general public. Activities that are not eligible for this grant include activities occurring outside the City of Austin 10-1 council districts or Austin's ETJs. For example, events occurring at venues located in Cedar Park, Round Rock, or Georgetown, as well as other Central Texas cities besides Austin, would not be eligible. Activities that are not accessible to tourists, like performances in public school assemblies or private members-only events, would not be eligible. Fundraisers, benefits, or activities offered for the sole purpose of raising money in excess of the value of programs or services delivered. Proposals that do not include a public event. For example, proposals to purchase equipment or activities like filming and editing without a public presentation component are not allowed. Activities that occur outside of the contract period of October 1, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. Please note that this is not an exhaustive list of ineligible activities. Please review the additional program details on our website for more information on acceptable uses of these grant funds. Applicants may request $5,000. There is no matching requirement at this time. If awarded, applicants can choose to decline any portion of funds they don't need. Applicants will fill out a project budget as part of their application, demonstrating how they will use these funds. We strongly encourage applicants to pay all who work on the project an equitable wage. Eligible project costs include payments to people, including project administrators and artists, venue and space rental, marketing expenses, equipment rental, insurance, and most production-related expenses for public events. Next slide. Ineligible project costs include, but may not be limited to, donations or regranting of grant funds, the purchase of equipment. However, equipment rental is allowed. Expenses paid more than 60 days before the start of the contract or after the end of the contract. Food and hospitality expenses must be pre-approved by city staff. Expenses related to starting a new business entity is not allowed, including registering your business as an LLC or applying to the IRS to become a 501c nonprofit. Please note that this is not an exhaustive list of ineligible expenses. Please review the additional program details for more information on acceptable uses of these grant funds. Next slide. The application rubric is comprised of a total of 100 points. The Nexus scoring criteria include award history, key constituencies and creative mission, cultural leadership, cultural activities, accessibility, language accessibility, marketing, and budget. You can find the full scoring rubric with more information about these criteria in the program guidelines on our website. Applications will be reviewed and scored by an internal panel of city staff. Panels will not be available for public viewing. However, applicants may request reviewer comments afterwards. Applicants may request reviewer comments after awards have been announced. Applicants will only receive points that apply to their proposal based on the scoring rubric. We anticipate that most applications will not receive the maximum number of points available. Applications that meet the requirements outlined in the guidelines and receive the highest scores will be recommended for funding. The number of awards that are approved is subject to the availability of funds. We expect to award approximately 50 grants per cycle. Next slide. The Nexus application opens on Tuesday, July 30th at 10 a.m. Central Time. Applications will be due on Tuesday, August 27th by 7 p.m. via the online submittable application.
I'm so sorry it happened again. You
That's okay.
mind spotlighting me again? I am so sorry.
No worries. We'll start at the top of this slide. The Nexus application opens Tuesday, July 30th at 10 a.m. Applications will be due on Tuesday, August 27th by 7 p.m. via the online submittable application. City staff will review and score applications in September, and awards will be announced by September 27th. To apply, you must visit www.austintexas.gov/Nexus. On our website, you will find the Nexus guidelines and additional program details document, a preview of the application questions, the application link, instructions to get started and submittable, and information on how to get help. We are transitioning all grant applications to the submittable application platform. Applications submitted after August 27th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Central Time will not be accepted. Paper and emailed applications will not be accepted. Next slide. We recommend that you draft all narrative question responses on your own separate document, so you can easily paste the answers into the online application. The Nexus application will have the following required document uploads. All applicants must provide up to 3 work samples demonstrating the programs offered and/or impact of the programs on their primary constituents. All sample materials provided should be concise and representative of the applicant's primary programming. Work samples might include bios of key artists and creative decision makers, artwork samples, promotional materials, programs, season brochures, newsletters, etc. Collages of representative materials will be accepted as a single item of documentation. Links to video and audio clips should not be more than 5 minutes total. Panelists will be instructed to only view 5 minutes of video audio samples. Website or social media pages. 501c applicants and fiscal sponsors are required to submit the organization's IRS determination letter, which indicates when the IRS approved the organization's 501c status, a copy of the most recently completed IRS Form 990. If the applicant has recently received their IRS nonprofit designation, please submit the most recently completed fiscal year financial statement. Applicants applying with a fiscal sponsor are required to upload a complete and signed sponsorship agreement. Next slide. If you would like help with your application, you can make an appointment with a cultural funding specialist for one-on-one application support. Sign up for one of our drop-in application assistance sessions with cultural funding staff. Join the cultural funding staff for an upcoming open office hours at 10 a.m. to noon every Tuesday through the application deadline. No appointment is needed for the open office hours. Open office hours will be available online and in person. Or attend a workshop. Our third-party administrators at the Long Center are available to provide technical assistance with the submittable application platform. Information for how to access these support opportunities can be found on our website. Thank you for your time and participation. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact any member of the Cultural Arts Funding team. For technical support, please contact the Long Center. You can find more information about this and other Cultural Arts Division programs on austincreates.com. Next slide. Good luck with your application. All right, so that concludes the formal presentation. I think we'll go ahead and stop recording, but we'll take some time